Hey guys, welcome to the Hoan Zone where we help you multiply the assets you own. Today I'm going to be continuing our series on how to buy properties with low or no money. Today I'm going to be going over one of my favorite topics, subject to. But before we get into that, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already because I'm going to be releasing new videos every Monday and Wednesday right here on the Hoan Zone. Subject to is definitely one of my favorites, and it is actually the strategy that I used to purchase my last property. And I love it so much because it just makes acquiring more properties so much easier because the money is already there. Did you know that 65% of homeowners have a mortgage, which means every 2 out of 3 people that you talk to will have a mortgage, and that is a lot of people. If you are looking to buy more properties, you definitely need to learn this strategy. Subject to is where you are buying a property and you are leaving the mortgage in place. You are taking over the property subject to the existing mortgage. Now, you can also take over properties subject to other things. You can take over the property subject to taxes, subject to existing liens. A friend of mine calls that ghetto financing. If the property has taxes or unpaid utility bills, just leave those in place. And then when they come knocking, maybe you pay them, maybe you don't. But that's ghetto financing with subject to. But most people use subject to take over a property with that mortgage. What it looks like from a 1,000-foot view, that's where the deed gets transferred into your name and the loan is still in the seller's name. That's the subject to. You're leaving their loan in place. The loan is still in their name. The property, though, is yours. This is a part where people get confused. They think that the deed is still in the seller's name and that it's kind of a contract for deed situation or a layaway plan where you're paying for it, but the deed has not transferred. This, in fact, you own the property. The deed does transfer. The loan just remains in the seller's name. People ask all the time, Hoan, why would somebody do this? Why would somebody leave the loan in place? Well, you got to answer this question. What's in it for them? I went over that last time. That's the most important question. What's in it for them? Why would somebody allow you to do such a deal? Why would they transfer their deed into your name and keep the loan in their name? Like, that sounds like a terrible situation. Make them an offer that they can't refuse. Well, they can totally refuse it, but it's so good that they say yes. Now, what kind of offer might that be? What offer would people say yes to? Well, it depends on what it is they need. If they are struggling with their mortgage, let's say they haven't paid their mortgage in months. That's a perfect scenario. That's a perfect scenario where I can say, hey, I will catch up your mortgage. Just leave your mortgage in place. I'll pay it off every single month. I'm going to buy the house from you. I'm going to pay off your mortgage. I'm going to catch your mortgage up and I'm going to pay your mortgage every single month. And that's going to benefit your credit because you've missed so many payments that really hurt you. But then if your payments start coming back in, all of a sudden you're looking good. That's what you might want to do if you're going to look to improve your credit in the future. Let's set this up as a credit repair solution for you, and you get to sell me your home just like what you wanted in the first place. Another reason why somebody might do that is just because they like you. I've negotiated a subject to when I bought a property. The person was trying to move, and I said, hey, could you please leave your loan in place? I'm going to buy your property, but I need a little bit extra money because I'm going to fix up your place. And by not having to pay off your mortgage just yet, it's going to help me out a lot. Could you do me this favor? I will also pay off your mortgage in about 6 to 12 months. Is that okay with you? Do you need your mortgage paid off for any particular reason? And they said, no, I will gladly allow you to take over the property, and then I'll leave the loan in place. They were happy with it. I was happy with it. Voila. It worked because they liked me, they trusted me, and I did exactly what I said I would do. I bought the property. I paid their mortgage every single month. So it was not a problem to them. There was no money coming out of their pocket. They enjoyed that I was able to buy the property as is, close quickly. Once they needed to find the next place, they didn't have to worry about the existing mortgage and they can use all of that savings to go buy that next property. They loved the scenario. I love the scenario. It worked out for both of us. Now, I mentioned that I paid it off in 6 to 12 months. That is something that I like doing. There are people that go out there and they teach you about buying property subject to and just hanging on to that loan forever. I don't like to do that. I just use it as a short-term loan to get into the property, fix it up, and then when I'm all done, I'm going to refinance or sell the property. I don't want to have their loan on my books for a long period of time, even though they might be in a situation where they've been paying the loan for years and they are in the part of the amortization cycle where they pay more in principal. I didn't care about any of that. All I cared to do was use that money as a way to get in, because there is that thing called the due on sale clause. That is where the banks say, hey, you transferred the deed. You are not the person we lent this money to. We want the property back. You've broken that. We want our property back. That is always lingering, looming, and I just didn't want to deal with that. The other thing is the insurance that's on the property. Usually there's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. They call it PITI. That is where the mortgage company is typically paying for your insurance, and they do that by escrowing money for that. I would typically have to buy a new insurance policy and then contact the mortgage company and switch it over, and then the whole gig's up. They know that something happened. And just to get away from that due on sale clause, even though it may not ever happen as long as you're paying the bill, I just wanted this to be a short-term loan for me. And also, it helps the seller have peace of mind that finally the loan is gone and paid for and out of their name. It works out for both of us that I pay it off sooner. Of course, you're going to get some objection, some pushback. Hoan, why would I do this? What if you don't pay? That's, of course, the number one. And that's probably something that you were thinking. Hoan, what if you don't pay the mortgage? It's in their name. Well, rule number one, do what you say. If you're going to tell them that you're going to pay the mortgage, then pay the mortgage. It's really that simple. But in the case that I don't, I put in the contract little things that makes this seller rest assured that everything's going to be okay. And one of those things is that if I don't pay this mortgage, then they get the house back. And any money that I gave them, any money that I put into the property, rehabbing it, all of that, they get all that. They keep all the money. They get the house back. It's all fixed up, whatever the situation is at the time. And voila, they're ahead, and they can go sell the house again. There are some clever things you can do out there. I am not an attorney. I am not your advisor. I am not any of those things. Do not take what I'm saying as gospel or anything that you could use. I just want you guys to be exposed to these ideas, talk to your professionals, and then see what you can come up with. But this is something that I personally did. When it comes to exiting the loan, what I usually do is, again, I refinance or I sell the property. When it comes to refinancing, what you have to be mindful of is that your takeout lender, the person you're going to refinance with, a lot of times they have a seasoning period. That just means how long have you owned the property. Some say they have a seasoning period of 1 month. Some say they don't have one at all. And some say they have 6 months, 12 months, 24 months I've even heard of. Be mindful of what your takeout lender's seasoning period is, so that when you buy the property, you know who you're going to go with, and you can tell the lender what to expect. If you think that you're going to refinance in 6 months and then you go to your lender and they say they have a 24-month seasoning period, then you're screwed, and then you broke your promise to the seller. Make sure you know who you're going to be refinancing with at the end so that you can accomplish what you said you were going to do. There are a couple of downsides with Subject 2, one of which is how are you going to cover the construction cost? Usually when you do something like hard money, they will give you money for the acquisition and the rehab. Here, when you're taking over a property Subject 2, you're only factoring in the acquisition part. And you're not even considering all of the acquisition part, just the part that the mortgage covers. What if a person's selling a house for $100,000 and the mortgage is $80,000? That means there's still $20,000 that you have to make up, and you have to cover the rehab. How do you cover those differences? Well, with the rehab, there's a couple of things that you can do. When it comes to the materials, you can get something like a Home Depot card or some kind of credit line with your supplier. That's how you'll cover the materials. And then for your labor, you can be really creative, and you can find contractors that are willing to go in with you on the project where they don't get paid until you refinance or you sell the property, and then you can pay them off. And maybe they said, hey, I want $20,000 for this project, the labor, but if you give me 22, I'm willing to forego payments until the end. That's just something creative, right? That's how you can cover that difference. There's that equity piece that you have to pay for. Their mortgage is for 80. They're selling the property for 100. There's a $20,000 gap that you have to fill. How do you do that? Well, if you watch my previous video on seller financing, you could seller finance that 20%. maybe you make up a payment where you say, hey, I'll pay you $200 a month until I pay off the whole entire loan with the refinance, or until I pay off the full 20,000, whichever comes first. So now if you look at it, you are seller financing the equity piece. You bought the materials using a Home Depot card, and then you got the contractor to become an equity partner in the deal and then take a larger payout later. That's super creative, wouldn't you say? When it comes to the paperwork, typically you just need your agreement of sale to state in there that you are buying this property subject to existing mortgage. Put in there what bank it's with, put in there the account number, put in there what the principal balance is, as much information as you can. And then on the HUD sheet, when the title company is doing the deal for you, if you're in a state that uses title companies, which I am and most of my deals are, on the HUD sheet, it will say that you're taking over existing, or you're not taking over, but the existing loan is going to remain. And then when it sums out at the bottom, it should not include paying off that subject to piece. It will say at the bottom, though, how much you have to bring to the table. Things that you might have to bring to the table. You're going to have to pay for transfer taxes, title insurance, taxes, your property taxes, and probably insurance. You got to pay all of that up front, unless somehow you can have the seller pay for it all. When you finally pay it off, you might run into an issue where you're going to have to get a payoff, and you're going to need the seller to assist you with that payoff. Stay in contact with them. Let them know what's going on constantly, because remember, the loan is still in their name. You're not taking over the loan. You're just making payments on behalf of the seller. When you're going to refinance and pay it off, the seller may need to contact the bank to get that payoff, so this contract, so that the loan can get paid off and this whole deal can be wrapped up. As I mentioned, 65% of homeowners will have a mortgage. It is vitally important that you learn this strategy, because what we're trying to do is multiply how many assets you own. And if you know this strategy, you get to buy more properties. That's the name of the game, multiplying the assets you own. This topic, though, is super confusing to a lot of people. And if this is the first time you're hearing about it, I understand if you're a little lost. Put in the comments below questions that you might have about the process. Or if you've already done this, tell me about your experience. Did you enjoy it? Did you buy more properties than you could have before without using this strategy? And if you are super confused to the point where you don't even know what questions to ask, check out hoanzone.com. I'm constantly running courses, and in those courses, I always go over subject to, because again, it's one of my favorites. And there I will teach you in depth how to do this strategy. And then this way you'll learn what questions to ask and how to do this. All right, guys, and we are at the most important part of the video. That is where you hit the like button because you enjoyed this video so much. Also hit that share button and share this with your friends. Thank you guys for spending time here at the Hoan Zone. I enjoyed sharing with you one of my favorite strategies, subject to. Go out there and go buy more properties. See ya.